Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like I'm auditioning for the X Factor. Where's Simon? Oh, that guy. Well, so as Phil said, my name is Chip Wilcox. I'm the CEO of Temasys Communications. This is the company's third trip to this event. It's my first, and I have to say it's a real pleasure to come here and be part of this event and to get to know all the people that everyone back in Singapore has been telling me about for the last 6 months since I joined the team. So, well, this is supposed to be the typical agenda slide for any presenter. I thought what I would do is I'd go through where we see WebRTC as a technology having been over the last year and a half, and kind of give a couple of thoughts about where we think it's going to go. And then talk a little bit about what Temasys has been up to, specifically this year, and then also provide you with some news about things that we're in the process of rolling out or that we wanted specifically to bring here to Atlanta and talk to people about. So you'll have a reason then to come by and visit our booth after our presentation. How's that? That looks amazing. So this is the Big Bang, or one vision of it. This is really what we think happened in 2012 when WebRTC was announced. And this is the reason why Temasys went into business. Since then, and specifically since 2013 to now, we've seen WebRTC evolve very quickly from a situation where the standard was a real moving target. The technology wasn't really stable. And if you could actually get a one-to-one peer-to-peer video conversation happening anywhere, that was considered a huge win. Throughout the last year, we've seen this now evolve through the stage where the standard is actually pretty well defined. There are a lot of client-based applications and use cases that people are finding ways to apply WebRTC in, and we're also starting to see real businesses start to use WebRTC in the context of their operations and as a benefit for their customers, which is a significant sort of turning point. So I'm not sure I always agree with the fact that we're crossing the chasm, we're in the trough of despair. I think everybody is still pretty excited about WebRTC. There are still a few hiccups that people are trying to get through in terms of how do you adopt this technology and integrate it into existing platforms, or do you just set up something completely new? So here we are today. It's June 2014. Again, lots of use cases, lots of people actually applying WebRTC into client applications. You now have pretty solid multi-party audio and video, and that's actually becoming more important to people. And along with that, and this is where Temasys really comes in, we're starting to find the infrastructure and the ability to scale and support stable, robust, secure deployments is incredibly important. And also, there's this thing called the data channel, which hasn't received a lot of attention, but which we think deserves quite a look. And from our perspective, that is something that we're focused on today and going forward as well. So another big topic of discussion is, what does it take for WebRTC to be successful, to be a technology that is widely adopted? You may recognize some of this diagram, but what I'm really getting at is that there's been lots of hype and marketing and PR around WebRTC in the last year and a half. This is influencing people to at least look at the technology, whether or not it's really ready for prime time or not, or whether the people that are doing the marketing are as solid in their implementations as their communications teams are in writing press releases, which is something that Temasys, anyway, I don't think we're that great at marketing, but we're getting better, and that's the whole point. Is the technology mature? Does it seem easy to use? Is it actually useful? That's all going to drive people's understanding and willingness to adopt it. And then, of course, is it something that's going to help my business in a way that I can't do with my existing technology, or that helps me save a lot of money in terms of running my business on a day-to-day basis? I think WebRTC has that capability and more, and that's something that everyone is starting to come around to realize. On the other side of this, you have some challenges to both the technology being perceived as useful and mature and whether or not it's something that's ready for prime time. And one of those was lack of browser support from Microsoft and Apple. We have a little bit to say about that, if you guys haven't heard. And then lack of mobile support or browsers in mobile, specifically iOS. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then just generally, again, awareness of WebRTC. I think that is starting to ramp, and we're seeing that. And obviously, I wasn't here for the last two conferences, but I've heard that this is a much bigger crowd than were around at the last couple of conferences. So that's very exciting, and it's all good. So what does Temasys think about what's going to happen, and why is WebRTC eventually going to be seen as a really viable solution for a lot of different use cases and a lot of different businesses? When we've been out talking with people, it doesn't seem to matter which vertical you're looking at, and these are just three very big ones, massive markets actually, whether you're talking about unified communications or telco, OTT services, or just web apps in general. You're seeing this evolution of things coming from different places. One which was, and you see very hardware-centric solutions, very heavyweight, very expensive. Now you've got software-based solutions like video. There is a downward migration or a flow into looking for more lightweight, more agile, less hardware-intensive solutions. And again, no matter what infrastructure or what business you're talking about, we think WebRTC, because it's embeddable and provides video and audio out of the box, along with a lot of other benefits, is the place where all of these different markets are going to end up converging. So, adoption problems. WebRTC for Internet Explorer and Safari. I would say, because I have a vested interest in it, that this problem has been solved, and it's been solved by Temasys with our, ironically, plugin for Microsoft Internet Explorer and Apple Safari desktop browsers. Anyone who has questions, and there have been a few in other sessions that I've been in, again, feel free to stop by our booth and talk to us later, and talk specifically to Alex, our CTO, around why we did it, or how we did it, or if you're interested in whether or not we want to open source it. The answer is no, but we have very good reasons for that, we think. Essentially, we recognize that for WebRTC to be useful and adopted more widely and to help speed the maturity of the technology, it has to work for everyone. And we had the capability and the capacity to help in that situation. And I feel like Temasys as a company needs to spend time doing just that. We participate in the standards committees. We help provide code back to the standard. This is just another example of how we're trying to help drive the maturity of the technology. We've made it free for all. We've committed to doing all the maintenance on this solution for however long it needs to be done. And we think it's a temporary solution anyway, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We provide full support for the WebRTC reference implementation to the spec, using the same calls to the APIs that the spec uses. And we've got proof that it's not very hard to integrate our solution into whatever solutions are out there. So anybody that wants to provide support for Internet Explorer and Safari, you can do that very easily with our product. And again, we did this mainly because we know we need to drive the maturity of the technology, for no other reason. So this is just a brief snapshot of what's been going on with Temasys for the last year. We've come to this conference a couple of times and walked away and feel very privileged to have won awards for some of the things that we've done that were perceived as innovative and helping, again, prove that WebRTC is a technology that will work to solve real problems and be very valuable to businesses. Since January, we've done a number of things that have further accelerated our business, including working to provide an integration for the largest social business platform in the world to provide audio, chat, and video conferencing or connectivity within that application. We've signed big deals with social networks that are larger outside of the United States than, and you may not have heard them inside the United States. to provide us access to a massive user base in places like Africa and Asia. We've launched our own demo, I call it a demo application. It's actually a very fully functional video conferencing site. I would encourage anyone that wants to see that or needs a video conferencing solution to go use it for free. We've done the plugin, which I've just talked about. And we've got a couple more things to talk about before I leave today that I also think are very exciting, specifically because they highlight the focus that our business has in supporting developers and also in doing innovation or innovating on the capabilities that WebRTC brings. So after the plugin, what's next? Well, anyone that wants to run a web application on iOS with Apple today doesn't have the capability to do that using or to run a WebRTC app in a browser. There are some reasons for this, one of which is Apple has its own way of doing things, and it wants everyone to use the same development platform, no matter who you are, even if you're Google, to write web browser codes for iOS. Temasys now is announcing that we're going to take on an initiative, we'll at least spearhead it, where we get WebRTC into WebKit, which is the development platform that everyone uses for iOS and browsers on iOS. We're also going to crowdfund this initiative. So if you liked what we did with the plugin for Internet Explorer and Safari, help us do this too. Again, it's for the benefit of the whole community. It's the benefit of WebRTC in general. If we hit our targets for funding, anything that we have left over is going to be used to continue to provide projects and support for the wider community. So again, this is not about us funding our future. This is about helping to do the right thing for the community. And we're going to launch that this week, and within a couple of months, we're going to see that we have WebRTC and WebKit. The other thing that I'm very happy to announce today is we are going live with our own developer platform, which we spent quite a bit of effort over the last year building out and enhancing. One of the things that we realized and that we think is important is that WebRTC by itself is just an API. It's not a product. It's not an application. Those of you that are building applications, you already know this. But for the world at large, they may not understand that. So one of the things that we talk about is that because WebRTC is just an API, you need other things that help you do things with that API, like development toolkits for mobile, web APIs to build client applications. It might be content management plugins for WordPress or Drupal that help you quickly drop in real-time communications capability on a site that anyone, including myself, could build. And then once you start seeing adoption of your application and people actually start using it, which is great news, you need an infrastructure to support that and to help you scale. These two things, the infrastructure and the development toolkits, are the things that Temasys provides. In terms of the developer platform, Skyway, we're calling it Skyway. This is a brand that we've used for almost 2 years now. But Skyway Developer Tools will provide the easiest way to build and deploy WebRTC-powered real-time communications applications available today. Our goal is to help developers on whatever platform they're using develop and deploy WebRTC-powered applications within hours. We're providing client-side APIs, mobile software development kits. We have white label applications if you're really lazy. I find those very helpful. And much, much more. And in fact, we're trying to provide as many ways to get onto WebRTC as possible. If you think about it, Dr. Alex talks about wanting to build a superhighway. The Autobahn, if any of you have been to Germany and test-driven BMWs, where there's no speed limit. You don't have to worry about how fast you're going. What you really need is a way to get onto that highway in the first place. So that's what we're providing and working with developers to do today. The other side of that is our infrastructure. We think we have the most robust fastest scaling, highest performance infrastructure out there, and we've spent a lot of time working on it. So now's the time to put that to the test, Alex. And our ultimate vision is to sort of go hand in hand. We want to be the Amazon Web Services of real-time communications. So anyone that builds an application using our toolkits and on our infrastructure, you get to do that for free. The toolkits are free. What we really want you to do is try it and put your use case out there so people can learn about it and use it. When you become successful, when you need to scale, we want to participate in that success, and that's when we ask you to start paying for usage of our platform. So again, Amazon Web Services model has worked pretty well for them. We think that's the right model for a company like us to bring to market. And that's what we're committed to doing, starting today. We also know that once you build an application, say you don't have a lot of users or you don't have a lot of customers, or if you do, you need reporting and analytics to help you understand where things are going wrong, where in the system you need to optimize a little bit more or enhance. The two other big initiatives that we're working on, which will be available in the next couple of months, are going to be very focused around reporting and analytics and testing. And we kind of got a strange sense of humor, but I think in French it makes more sense. We call our testing suite Puppet Master. It's fully configurable. You can set up any kind of back-end infrastructure testing you want. You can configure your client and say, I want to have 1,000 users join at one time. I want 50% of them to do video. The other half can just do audio. And then I've got another 10,000 people to come in. We've tested ourselves with, 2 million? 2 million concurrent users on the platform at one time, because we want to test and load test and be able to help scale for our developers. On the other side of that, we've got a platform that we're going to call Big Engine, which is really about data gathering, aggregation, and reporting. And this is very difficult in the context of WebRTC because you've got things happening in a lot of different places, a lot of different endpoints. In a closed system, it's very easy to gather all that information into your data pipeline, put it together, and produce a nice little report. We've done some very interesting things that we're working on in our labs where we're able to take alerts and prompts and match the events to the timeline of whatever interaction is happening, and then be able to report that back as a consolidated unit that gives you a complete picture of what's happening in that particular interaction. And that's, I think, going to be very important for people that are building applications. So between load testing for an application where you don't know how many users you're going to get, and all the reporting functionality that we're in the process of building out and going to be ready to provide very shortly, we think we've got a very compelling offer. And we think this is exactly what is going to be required in the next 6 to 12 months when it comes to WebRTC in general. So with that in mind, I want to thank everybody for having us, for allowing me to take up 10 minutes of your valuable time today. And if you do have any questions, I'll be down here with our CTO, Dr. Alex Goyard, and happy to hang around and chat for a while.